Welcome to Soul Elevation, guiding your ascension to new heights. I'm your host, Kara Goodwin. I'm so excited about this episode with Regina Meredith. I love the Gaia Network, and Regina's Open Minds is my favorite show on Gaia. It was really an honor to connect with her and get her personal perspective on spiritual topics, since we mostly hear her in the role of asking the questions. She has very thought-provoking things to share about her experiences with her guides. She shares fascinating insights about her experiences of perceiving beyond this physical realm, and she shares a powerful message about where humanity is being guided to evolve to at this critical time. Regina Meredith is a trailblazing journalist, author, and host who has dedicated her career to exploring the hidden dimensions of reality, including through her long-running series Open Minds on Gaia. With decades of experiences in mainstream and alternative media, she's become a trusted voice in uncovering suppressed knowledge, consciousness studies, and the mysteries that shape our human experience. Regina has hosted award-winning television programs, produced groundbreaking documentaries, and created platforms where leading thinkers and visionaries can share their insights. Her work empowers seekers to question accepted narratives and awaken to a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. Before we start, I'd love to invite you to explore the many offerings waiting for you at karagoodwin.com. You'll find my book, Your Authentic Awakening, a collection of free guided meditations and other resources to support you wherever you are on your spiritual path. You can discover upcoming summits and workshops designed to connect you with like-hearted souls and expand your consciousness in real time. And I really appreciate your support with the show. The algorithms really favor shows where people are liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. So please do what you can to amplify the energy of the podcast and episode. Welcome, Regina. What a joy to be with you. I'm so honored to have you here. I've been really looking forward to this. So thank you so much for coming on Soul Elevation.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I love your energy. I've seen some of your work. You're really good.
Oh, thank you so much. And I was sharing with you before we started recording that you are Gaia to me. You are I love your work so much. And I have watched so many of Open Minds, so many episodes of Open Minds. You really are a role model for me. I have changed my own approach because because I appreciate so much what you bring to the interviews. So it really means a lot to me that you're here today.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
So you're a trailblazer, really, in terms of the creation of this emerging conscious media genre that is getting more and more traction. Tell us a bit about your journey into conscious media.
Well, it took place over a very long period of time because we don't know when we start saying yes to higher self. We don't exactly know where it's leading. There is a certain amount of faith involved. And for myself, it had to do with many, many years of practice in the media. And I didn't understand that I was actually only practicing to come to this moment. Each thing seems dire and intense and complete in the moment. Like, well, what if this gig doesn't work out? It didn't matter. None of it mattered because it was all really just leading me to a point of being. I'm a super private person. When I was young, I would have chewed off an arm before I would have raised my hand in class.
Really?
Or been in a school play. I am in essence, I think on a soul level, when I'm on earth, an observer. And so that's what I have done many lifetimes, but this lifetime in particular. And it reflected in my early report cards, will not join in with others. I would just sit on the edge watching everybody. So that's what I do is I watch. And so for me to speak up and go on camera was absolutely terrifying. And all of that was done. If anyone's ever read my book, Accidentally on Purpose, it's a fun little ride through my trippy little life. And I ended up in media on a dare. That was it. And I've been in it my entire life since then. I didn't plan on it. I didn't want to be in media. But I became comfortable with the camera. It's much harder to speak in front of a group of people. But with a camera, you're speaking to one person at a time. And that's how I see it in my mind's eye. I'm connecting just with you. So I was able to push through it in many iterations, and probably 10, 15 years into my career, I decided if I was going to be on mass media and have any kind of impact, I mean, if you're there, you're having an impact, that I needed to start utilizing it in a way that I thought was working for higher purpose. So I started moving toward environmental news, created something called the EnviReport. This was probably 30 years ago now, trying to help consumers understand healthier choices for their home and families, simple stuff, but it was useful. And then went on to do a documentary on the Sierra Nevada mountain range and the value and beauty of and necessity of taking care of this beautiful planet. And as was indicated with what was going on in the Sierra Nevada, there was a lot of contentiousness, a lot of clear cutting, a lot of pollution. So I dove into that. It did really well. And then after that, um, vegetarian cooking show, Regina's Vegetarian Table, for years on PBS, and that actually went to other English-speaking countries. But again, you see a pattern here. Each time I felt that something was important to share, and honestly, it wasn't pedantic. The vegetarian show, I wasn't judgmental at the time whether someone was or wasn't, but there was a big demand rising, especially from the younger generations, the people that would be millennial generation now. The mothers were saying, my kids won't eat meat. So I got a lot of email from people. My husband's been diagnosed with this. He has to eat more vegetables. And it wasn't a very cool cooking scene with vegetables out there at the time. So I wanted to make it fun, hip, sexy. So I did that for a while, useful. Then I thought, this whole time I was studying metaphysics and I was having my own experiences on a paranormal level, also spiritual level. And I thought, I've been at this a long time. I want to start talking about the things that are deeper than vegetarianism and environment and so forth. And that's when my former husband, Scott Meredith, and I launched Conscious Media Network, which was in 2004. Now, the reason I was so attracted to, well, it was a soul thing. There was no way I was not going to do it. When we started up, there wasn't anyone doing that. YouTube was brand new. There were no platforms really. He just happened to be super dialed in the tech world and understood what streaming was all about, which was very rare in the day. And so he said, well, I can get us up in streaming if you can do the content. And I said, sure, I can do that. I'd already met a lot of the people, Greg Braden, and a lot of people that were around at that time I'd already met. And I thought, let's do this thing. So when we did, it was something, well, there wasn't anyone else that we knew of, not in the English speaking world anyway. And we just did it on a wing and a prayer. We didn't charge anything for it. And we had no PR, no marketing. Who even knew? I mean, there were no algorithms for this stuff. And I remember we waited and there was one viewer that came through. And Scott said, someone found us. It was like,
Oh.
someone found us out in the dark. Somewhere, someone in the world found us. And at the time, we were called Broadband Learning Channel because we didn't want to make it sound too new agey. And not long after that, we said, let's just go for it. And we changed it to Conscious Media Network. And so I just started interviewing a lot of the great thinkers. And a lot of it was because I had already connected for many years prior with my own soul group. And I'd had such amazing information, access to such amazing information, and my own experiences that I wanted to start bringing the story in with other people and honestly validating through other people's scientific work my own experiences and my knowledge from my soul group. So part of it was my own journey seeking validation for these spiritual truths what I experienced as spiritual truths and experiences. So that was a long time ago. That was 2004 when we started that. And now there are hundreds, if not thousands of people that are doing this. And that is that's what I was supposed to do. Just open it up. And it was only about a year later when other podcasts started up. So there were other early ones that came along. And then, you had to be able to figure the system out yourself because there were no existing platforms and algorithms that would make this work. You had to literally
You had to make
pay.
it up.
platform company and build the whole thing. So it
Mm.
wasn't an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Now we can plug in, like I do on my own site, plug into YouTube and boom, there we are. And the algorithms do the rest. For good or bad, they do the rest.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing. And so it all led you to ultimately where you are now with Open Minds on Gaia. And one of the things, it's a great segue into what I want to talk about next, where you left that because you wanted validation for these experiences that you're having. And as I said, I just really, really love Open Minds, and you interview amazing people. And every now and then we get this glimpse into you and how connected you are. And it leaves me with like this thirst to know, well, you talk about your guides. I want to know about your guides. Like, what has your experience been like? So what can you share with us about can you give us a little more insight into the paranormal side, the spiritual side with what you feel comfortable sharing?
Sure. Well, initially, I had some of my own paranormal experiences that were just popping up. I didn't have any context for them, but I found that when I would be invited into a group to meditate or do past life regression, all those things came fairly naturally for me. And when ultimately, I started regressing other people because that seemed to be something that I was very comfortable with. And I had a good amount of success with helping others just connect with their past, but I did it in my own way, very much more. I was trained, but I also did it in a very personal, gentle way, so
And that's
that
through hypnosis?
yeah, I did that through hypnosis. So
Mhm.
there was that, and I could do self-hypnosis as well, but a lot of these events just occurred. And I thought, I'll bookmark that. That was interesting. And so that started much younger. That started in my early 20s. And a lot of people that you interview really were having experiences and seeing things from the time they were born. That wasn't me. That
Mhm.
I just lived a normal life watching, watching everybody. And it really was. I didn't even care to open that door till I was in my 20s. And so it was not phenomenal to me at all. It just seemed very natural. And so as time went on, what really started opening the door for me was diving into the world of quantum reality and the way the mind emotional complex works and how reality is created. And that was a long time ago. That was in my early 30s when I started studying quantum physics and the nature of reality and how we build it, how we create it. And to me, how the mind, emotion, spirit, body all work together was the most fascinating thing there was. It still is. I mean, we're a miracle. This multidimensional being we are is an absolute miracle. And the way in which we can create and destroy is absolutely fascinating. And it's all within us. It's all up to us. So that to me is where I really started lighting up. And so I was more interested in the quantum world, but interviewed people on a vast array of subjects, as I still do now, because everybody has their own interest and are at different levels. And I'm not doing the show for me, I'm doing it for our audience. So I try to tap into as many things as I can. But the quantum reality is what really woke me up a few decades ago.
Mhm. Right. Okay, that's really interesting. And because I feel like, well, we all have our own experience. And like you say, we're creating our reality kind of as we go. For me, quantum in the populace, even in like the more new age populace, but it exploded relatively recently. So it's really funny for you to say that first, it was so long ago
Yeah.
that you were exploring it, because I don't know, in my world it was much more fringe, but it sounds like it was easy for you to access back
It
then.
was easy for me to access, but it was beyond, it wasn't even fringe. It just
Mhm.
wasn't. And the first book I read, I remember where I was, and I had a little baby at the time, and I was a news anchor, and I was just trying to find something higher to life because news anchoring was not it.
Mm.
And so I read Beyond the Quantum. And that was the book that originally lit me up. And for some reason, I resonated very deeply, and I could see the quantum world in my mind's eye. So how the way they were talking about it mechanically made total sense to me. So that was at the basis. And then at the same time, my own soul group, which I had access to at the time through another member of that group who's incarnate, who was a channeler. And we were all just part of the same group. So I could talk with them with ease through her for many years and ask about everything, anything I wanted about the nature of the cosmos, the way we create, how the multidimensional mind, how the subconscious works. And then I had time to play with it and put it in action with hypnotherapy, for example, and watch how people's minds were working. So I have this fascination with how we're each embedded in such a completely individual reality on one level, and that is on a perceptive level.
Right. Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so cool. So when you have connected with this soul group, and you said that there was somebody who is incarnate who was kind of acting as the mediator at that time.
Yes.
Can you give any insights about who this group is or?
Very little because they don't talk about it, and I have been there on a couple of occasions. And another woman whom I've interviewed, I found out recently, appears to be from there as well. And
Oh,
we were both just squealing because she had been to the same place and experience I had, which is a little different. It's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's not what you read about, about going to the Elysian fields. It's not like that. It was really tapping into something that is that has no material component at all.
mhm.
So it is just a realm of thought,
Okay.
um, thought and creation. It's not, it doesn't even have light. It's
Wow.
just pure thought. And so when I went back to it one time in ecstatic, I got swept in because I'm a yes person. And I got swept into this course. Someone said, "Oh, you should take this course." Really? I did, really? And the next day I signed up and I was there and oh my God, it was something like landmark, but not exactly, and not something I would resonate with. But hey, what the heck? I was there and you had this ecstatic experience at the end. And you dance into a trance dance until you drop and then drop back in people's arms and boom, I was gone. I was out there in my place. And I thought, wow, this is so interesting. You know everyone, and it's kind of like you can access everyone and everything. There are other beings there. You know where they've been. You know where in the cosmos they've been, what they've been up to, where their work is working, so to speak. But there is nothing there. There's nothing physical there.
Yeah.
And so you just know them, you know each other. And when I heard this woman that has become a friend of mine, whom I've interviewed, talk about the place she went after she was she was struck by lightning. She went to the exact same place and described everything the exact same way, the peace and the knowingness and the expansiveness and the beauty, but there's nothing there.
That's so fascinating. I've had some metaphysical experiences beyond, that I can't account for with our five physical senses. And when I have those experiences, a lot of times I just see like shapes, I see
Yeah.
geometries,
Yes.
but I don't see form and I don't see landscapes. And so it's really interesting for you to talk about it. It doesn't sound identical, but I can really relate to what you're saying because when I try to explain to people what my sort of mystical experiences are like, it's like I don't see beings. I don't necessarily, sometimes I'll hear English or another language. Um, but and I've just recognized rather recently that it feels like I overshoot somehow with my consciousness. And if I can like pull it in this probably makes no sense, but if I can pull it in a little bit, then there's something in between where I
Hmm.
naturally shoot to and where I would be able to see like form or landscapes or because it's to a certain extent, I think there are layers, and it's kind of one thing that we're moving through these different
Yes,
layers, right? And
absolutely.
yeah, so
I think honestly, if I can I'll just make an observation. I may be wrong. This is just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think that where you may be going is you're actually seeing the fundamental building blocks of reality. That's what I've been shown. Once you get into the fields of geometry, spin, where maybe some light comes in, where these frequencies are involved, those you're seeing the precursors to the formation of what we call physical reality.
Yes, that
Those are the
resonates.
building blocks.
Yes.
So I think you're not overshooting. You're
Yeah.
just going to the place it's happening before it's happening.
Yes, yes, that's a great way to say it. I've explained it in a similar way before where I'm like, it seems very foundational.
Very
So
foundational. And the place I go to is just the thought that starts motivating the presence of the geometry and everything else. It's
yes.
that void where the original, you can say, thought or desire begins.
Does it look really like a void? Is there any
There's
sort of
nothing. It's a
just
void.
okay? Because I also have experienced things that look like a grid, or but it's more than a grid. Like it's multi.
I
There's the
have
next.
two. That's a
Okay.
separate place too. All of
Okay.
you're going through different dimensions and different layers. And I
Hmm.
have been to that grid reality too, which is beautiful because you can see the
Hmm.
vector points where
Yeah.
knowledge, experience, events are stored in these vector points on the grid. Boom, that's where your
Mm.
information points are, and you're going there naturally. So,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, you're obviously able to travel beyond this dimension clearly. And so you're just kind of bumping into different levels of reality in its creation and
Yeah.
in the places where energy and information are stored.
Yes. Well, it's fascinating you talk about what was it, knowledge? Tell me again what the different vectors are or the axes are.
When you have the lines that transect each other,
Mhm.
when you are, if you should roll out onto the grid accidentally or whatever. I remember waking up in a field of plaid one day. But anyway, there it was orange and green, no less. Ugh. But anyway, these vector points are the places where where the energy lines crosses, where information, knowledge, events, that's where the information is stored,
Okay,
is at these
information,
vector
knowledge,
points.
experience. Okay, because I
Mhm.
had one experience where I was seeing these big gears. At one point, they were very thin and but I was in a void space. I saw these gears, huge, huge gears, and then I started seeing like it looked like a spinning galaxy, and then they started converging, and I was like, oh, time, space, this is time, like
Interesting.
literally time and space. And then there was a z vector, which was our perception. So it was like we traverse, and those coordinates are we're traversing through those coordinates of time and space, but
Yes.
then we are that point, and then the light through our eyes is projecting reality that's based on our frequency. So, but I was like, what you're saying relates to that so well with the knowledge and the events, and I'm like, yes, that's another way to say it. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And each of us is from our own place. And some of these places that we recall, I mean, if you go back to the beginning, we would all essentially be from a void,
Mhm.
a spark. But that's not functionally that useful to us now. We've been a
Mhm.
lot of places since then. Most of the people incarnated on Earth have been in other places as well, other dimensions in particular. And so each one of us has our own personal memory of what our own kind of home or source feels like. And it may only go as far back as the last place we were. That's quite possible.
Mhm.
So none of these are definitive. We are multidimensional beings that are operating in multi dimensions, many dimensions simultaneously, more dimensions than we understand. So, whatever our perception is able to just pick up on can be pretty random,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's
And
so
then some
fascinating.
people remember being on another planet. Maybe the last lifetime they were on another planet that had form, structure, society, and they came into this incarnation to maybe foster some of that knowledge into or inculcate it into society at this time. And so for them, when they're out of body and experiencing their home place, it might literally be a very highly formed and highly structured society of some kind with full form. And that's
Mm.
totally legit because that's where they've been last.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people through the years, interviewees have said, "Oh, you're a Pleiadian." No, not a Pleiadian, but I've been there. It was one
Hmm.
stop along the way. We've all had a lot of stops.
Hmm.
And so, I just, had I not had the opportunity to go back into this wonderful place, which is the plenum, it seems like a void, but everything is present within it.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love that. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I can't call it anything more. When I was quite a lot younger and first met with my beings, my soul group, I said, "So, where are you? I mean, where do you exist?" And I remember they said, "We're so far away that you can't comprehend," because I didn't understand multidimensionality at the time, that you can't really comprehend it, but we're there with you now. We're with you. And I thought, huh, I'm going to have to think about that for a few decades.
Right. Yeah. And so do you see them as a collective and you're part of that collective? And so there's the human aspect of you, and then do you see that there is another aspect of yourself that is in that collective?
Mhm.
Okay.
And they were very clear about that a long time ago. And they
Mhm.
said, just know that things won't work normally for you there. And they never
Mm.
have. And that they do have some kind of tweaking before incarnation so that my nervous system can. This is what I've been told, and a lot of people, seers who look at my aura and such, are like, "What are you?" So I have come over the years to accept I'm definitely a square peg trying to fit in round holes a lot of the time. And the nice thing is, with people like you and the community we're in, a lot of us are square pegs. And so
Yeah.
we can finally feel like we're in a warm bath of like minded souls, which isn't easy because we have a lot of programming on this planet to get through it. It's not as though many, many of the people that, quote, appear to be asleep aren't exactly the same as we are. They just haven't awakened to that perception of themselves and life yet.
Right.
So I want to be very clear about that. It's not as though we're different. It's just a perception where you're awake to the fact that things aren't all as they seem, and we are multidimensional and come from different places, and we're all here for similar purpose.
Right.
So I feel very comfortable with that. I don't feel so alone.
Yeah, and I think we're maybe more and more, as there's been this, it feels like this awakening tide that has been happening, and especially since 2020, for whatever reason, a lot of people started to wake up around that time. So and I feel that there is even this appreciation for the square pegs as we've gone on, where it's like, oh my God, thank goodness Regina's been doing this since, the 2004, well, even before that. But, with the
Yeah.
conscious media from 2004 on, where we've had these people whose shoulders we can kind of stand on
Mm.
and it helps things as reality, because it's a matter of your entire reality shifting when you start to
Oh,
wake up.
absolutely. And here you have now generations of people waking up who are coming in to the new energies. When they're born into these new frequencies, it allows you to come in with that stuff lit up. I
Mm,
mean, I'm a boomer. I came in when it was actually just post World War II and quite dense, you
yeah.
know,
Mm.
and it was very different, a very set reality where you had a couple of television shows you could watch for the news and Father Knows Best, and a few television shows you could watch for entertainment, and everyone I knew except one family, the naughty family, went to Sunday school and church on Sundays. We're talking about a very patterned, dense reality compared to what these little guys are being born into now.
Right.
It's wide open. Everything is possible and being acknowledged as possible.
Yeah.
And they'll have people to guide them where this knowledge is already available, open, and they can continue their exploration throughout their lifetime. So who knows? This little alpha generation of tiny little kids, who knows what they're going to do? We're already seeing some great stuff from each of the generations, but everything is possible for these little guys that were born, like you say, around 2020 and after.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to get to some of the incredible experiences that you've had, or some of the different experiences. You've already started to whet my appetite with talking about the void and so forth. One episode of yours in particular that comes to mind, I think you were interviewing Freddie Silva. Love him. He's amazing.
Mhm.
Um, and you were talking about caves. And it
Yes.
seems that you had a really special experience within a cave, or maybe there have been multiple ones. But is that something that you'd be interested in sharing?
Yeah, I can share it. It was a fascinating, I mean, again, there's entertainment and there's usefulness. So I would put this in the category of sharing as entertainment, even though it's true for me. It happened to me. So I was in Israel, and at the time there was a lot of political chaos going on.
Just at that time?
Yes. Yeah, not as much as this moment, but
Mm.
there was a lot. And the person that was in power at the time had been brought up on corruption charges. It was on the front page of the
Oh,
Jerusalem
wow.
Post, went into a coma the next day. So all this was
Oh my
going on.
gosh, while you were there?
Yeah. And this
Wow.
was all going on while we had uh, Hanukkah, Christmas, and Hajj all going on in this 1 month period of time. And I was there with on a peace mission with Vernon Wolf, who was the founder of Hollow Dynamics, I believe it was called. And so a group of us went and we were meeting with both Israelis and Palestinians. So we had a day off that was rare. And it was, I believe, either Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve. And we thought, well, let's go to the town of Ankaram. Well, right near there, literally right near all of the sacred places, was the hospital where Ariel Sharon was, quote, in a coma. Some people said he actually had died, and they just kept him sounding alive for quite a long time. So, you know, you can say it's a conspiracy theory. One fellow who was working the ER that night said that, but it doesn't matter. The point is there was a lot of media there. And it was the holy season. And so we went. Ankaram is the home to the chapel and also the baptismal well of John the Baptist, or so it said. So in the Bible, when you read about him going up into the rugged hills and his deep meditations and all, this would have been that place. Well, they've
Wow.
built a monastery of sorts around the baptismal well. And what few people know is that there is a cave right above the baptismal well. And I thought, I love caves. I love the energy in them because it's so silent. So much can happen. And there's no interference from, all the other stuff we're dealing with. So I went into the cave, and the most interesting thing is we arrived there. There was no one there. Now, you would have thought it would have been jam-packed. So call it luck, call it whatever. No one was there. So there were three of us, my husband and a friend of ours. And so we all went up, we looked at the baptismal well, and then, hey, there's a little cave. We went up in there, and they went in and said, oh, huh, not very big. And I thought, good, you're leaving. That means I get to be alone. So there was a tiny little stool to sit on. And as soon as my butt hit that stool, the show began. And I thought, okay, I felt as though I'd been caught in my pajamas at a surprise party. All these beings came in, and this one beautiful kind of essence of a being came down almost in a sphere through the ceiling and floated down in front of me. And it was a female, and she was wearing all white, and she was there to deliver a message. But everyone else was there, including my friend who's in my soul group, who channeled at the time the group, that those beings. She was there too, as well as the members of my soul group. And I thought, okay, what's this all about?
And you're seeing
And
this with your inner sight?
yeah, I see
Mhm.
almost everything with my inner sight. And
Mhm.
then I started being downloaded in very high speed all of the Egyptian hieroglyphics and symbols, as well as pictographs. And so it was going so fast, I couldn't catch any one of them. It was just being downloaded into my aura. And I have had a number of lifetimes in Egypt. And I thought, well, I don't know why this is happening, but it was for a future time. might be now because I'm going to Egypt with the group in January.
Oh.
So, and I've not been there before. So it was being downloaded for things to be revealed at a future time. And then I said, "What is this about? Why are you all here?" And the woman said, "I had to put on a show because I've been with you for a very long time and you haven't noticed me." And I thought, okay, fair enough. And then she said, "You're to live." I thought she said I was to live in my body more. And that wasn't, turns out that those weren't the exact words. It was to be in closer association with the body. So anyway, it ended and I was just stunned. I called my friend and it was early, her time. And I said, "You would not believe where I've been." She said, "Well, all I know is I was with you somewhere," and started talking about her end of it. And I said, "Yep." So I told her where we were and where we had been. And uh, then found that I had slightly misunderstood the message, and I had slightly misunderstood by a letter the name the woman gave me. And it was just a letter off. I thought, oh God, I get it now. So it was to let me know she was with me, to, for some reason, download all this Egyptian information into my being, into my aura, and also to let me know that I needed to at least try to integrate a little bit better with the human body.
Wow. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. That
Yeah.
is amazing. I love it. I feel like it is a very activating story, even if it is for entertainment purposes.
Well, and what are you going to do with that? What am I going to do with it? It happened.
Well, and like you say, it's a gift that just kind of keeps getting unwrapped as you move through
Yes.
life. And I think people can really relate to that too. I've had experiences with that too, where I'm just like, I'm not sure what that was.
Yeah.
And, it kind of unpacks over a long time.
Yes. Yeah. And I've had other cave experiences, but that's certainly the one that was the most interesting.
Yeah, I'd say. Well, on Open Minds, you cover a wide range of topics, and really anything is fair game, from ETs to multidimensionality, Sasquatch, secret space programs, Lemuria, Atlantis, etc. So I imagine you feel drawn to all of these topics, but is there anything in particular that's really your sweet spot? And that may just be currently. I know with me, like things kind of phase
Changes.
in and out, yes. But is there anything that is really grabbing your attention right now?
I think what's grabbing my attention most at the moment, and you're right, it does change as time goes on. There's a time to really dig in and help people become comfortable with the notion we're not alone. And we've never been alone. There have always been ETs on this planet from the beginning. So, but it's our planet, it's for the human race. No one's taken it over. Well, arguably, there are those in the shadowy wings who are doing their thing. But other than that, no one has overtly taken it over. It's still for us to claim, to create, to forward into the new consciousness. It's our planet. And I find that very interesting because we're at a time now where what I am seeing, we have to call spirit into action. There were times to just contemplate our quantum nature and to meditate and be quiet. And there are, everyone's in their own personal stage. So I'm not talking about individual development, I'm talking about kind of collective movement at this time. I call it more, it's time to call spirit into action. And so some of it puts us in tricky spots that we're not comfortable with. Maybe we don't like to stand up and we don't like to raise our hand in class. Um, Maybe we're not good at contentious conversations. And so now, drawing on everything that we have learned about soul and spirit and creation and creativity and the waves of consciousness, astrology, we've brought all of that information in now. And now we're being called forward in our own evolution to say the shadow of humanity is being revealed so that you can't miss it now, right? All over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I just got back from Italy, Britain, and Germany, and their comments about what's happening in the United States is frightening them because they didn't think these things could happen in the United States. They've been through it, and they know what it can wreak. And so now we can't just hide our heads in the sand as to what's happening. We helped create it. And to me, that's a very interesting part of it. How did we help create this? Now, the prevailing energy coming in is a higher frequency. And that higher frequency cannot be fully embodied until we start squaring up with the shadow side, individually and collectively. And we're now being asked to level up collectively with our shadow and how we got here. And so when I was chatting with my guides a couple days ago, um, they were saying this happens because human beings are still so uncomfortable with and afraid of the unknown that when energy gets intense, they will literally reach back into an uncomfortable, even negative known before they'll let themselves go and flow into any uncertainty. Because the more the energy ratchets up, the more uncertain everything feels. That's not what's happening, but that's how it feels. And I understand that. You know, people feel like they're losing their bearings. Well, that's the energy we all chose to be born into. We're all experiencing it. That is a cosmic energy. In the book The Future Human that Lee and I did, it talks about that a lot. The whole first chapter is about this fabulous new energy moving in, opening all these doors and windows and possibilities for the advancement of humankind. Well, that's not going to happen until we contend with what hasn't worked. Everyone who's done shadow work knows you don't move forward very far if you can't look at the shadow. So now we're being asked and being given an opportunity, big time, to look at the shadow of our collective consciousness and what we've created. And that's when they were telling me, you have to, as humans need to become more comfortable with the notion of uncertainty, because it may only be that this ripple of new energy that's putting wind under our wings, if you perceive it that way, or pushing us forward faster than we want to, if you perceive it that way. It might be that it's only asking for a small shift in us. We think it's going to tear our lives apart and take everything that we've ever known and wanted away from us. That's not true. It might just be saying, you know what? If you turn left right here, you're going to see a sign that's going to take you into this place. It's going to give you a new idea for something having to do with your kids or your business. Pay attention to the sign. It may be something that small that's being asked of us. But it's like, no, I always go this way. I don't need to turn right at this time. I never turn right here. And so that's what we're up against. It's really, when you look at it, it's very fundamental. It's simple. It's affecting everybody. We're all being asked to rise up and contend with the shadow that we have created. And they
Yes.
said the shadow is because of our fear of uncertainty and the unknown.
That makes so much sense, and I have not thought about it in terms of the unknown and that's so profound what you said or what they said about that we would prefer, like a lot of times we would prefer to go into an uncomfortable known
Yes.
rather than just the unknown, discomfort of uncertainty. That's really profound.
Well, look at how many people stay in relationships that are so damaging
So
because it's
true.
known and they don't know what happens if they let go. And
Yes.
we're being asked now to have a leap of faith that our soul, the universe, our guides, our soul group, the creators have our back.
Hmm.
Life has our back. We just don't trust that life with a big L has our back. If
Yeah.
we understood that, we'd say, okay, I have a blindfold on, but I'm going to take a step forward anyway. And things change very rapidly when we have the courage to do that. So it's hard. It's hard for everybody to muster that courage. I get it.
Yeah.
But that's what's being asked of us.
Yes, I agree completely. And I've seen that in my own experience too. And I've even felt like I think I said this in a live stream within the last couple of months where I've tended to be very like, it's okay if you're not working on your spiritual, all in your own time and so forth. And I was like, and that it's not that that's not true, but it feels more urgent now, where it's like, it's really urgent that if you have any interest in nurturing your spiritual perspective, that you do so and that you really get comfortable in that and you make that connection because like you say, like we're just in this time of there's so much that's rising and it can feel so uncertain. And if you have a completely materialistic view of reality, I don't know how you navigate
You
because
can't.
it because you can't hold on to what you had
No,
because everything's in flux. So,
you can't. Yeah, and what you said is to do, and it's about doing now. And so
mhm,
this comes down to things that are very uncomfortable for us. It usually comes down, number one, to human relationships.
mm,
And there are some interesting things going on there, and I don't want to conflate them. But in relationships, when someone is being mm, abusive on some level in their relation to us, we have to start calling it out. We're not going to be able to call it out on a large level if we can't even call it out on the small levels. So we
yes.
have to call it out. If we're being abusive, if we're manipulating, even on a subtle level, and we're lying to ourselves and saying, "Ugh, that was a kind of passive aggressive thing I said to so and so the other day. I need to apologize." Then we need to apologize. And the thing is, we all in this boat together, we're all having to deal with the shadow. And so to take the time to examine ourselves and be honest, this is the whole thing, self-honesty, know thyself,
Mm,
really truly know thyself. And when you say, look, I've probably been exhibiting some of that behavior myself, I need to transform that. And I'm
yeah.
going to start with one little apology to my friend. That was kind of a manipulative thing I said. I shouldn't have done it. That's where all change begins.
I love that. And you know, you're talking too about the things that we do within ourselves, the reclamation of the planet, really, in terms of, you know, we're here, we own it, this is
Yes.
our creation. It it does make me think of all of the hoopla going on with Three Eye Atlas. Is this on your radar at all? Do you have any thoughts about what's Three Eye
No,
Atlas?
what is it?
Oh, it's this they thought it was a comet at first, so it's orbiting around the solar system, but it's not from the solar system apparently. And it doesn't have a tail like a comet, and it so a lot, and it's sort of a convergence of like science because they're trying to figure out what it is, and then of course there are ufologists and spiritual people who have their own readings on things. um, and I haven't been on the forefront of it. I just am curious about what people are picking up on with it. But there is this element of some people think that it's delivering gonna, you know, as it orbits past the Earth, that it will deliver frequencies to us. And then there are others who are like, but that's us looking for a savior. So really we're the saviors, you know, and so forth. But yeah, it's
I would fall into the latter, which is whatever it's doing, and I don't know what it is,
mhm,
whatever it's doing, um, we're here to save ourselves now. This is what we're here to do.
yeah.
We need to claim this because we're going to a much better place. This
Mhm.
planet is, it's evolving. We're evolving. We are actually, as crazy as things look, we're kinder than we've ever been in our recent, let's say the last 10, 20,000 years, maybe 30,000 years. We're the kindest we've ever been. Now, I
Mhm.
think there were probably very ancient times in Lemuria and Atlantis where we had higher levels of evolution than we do now. But those, of course, there were mass extinction events. That's gone. And so here we are now, and we have really, truly never been kinder than where we are right now. And people forget that. People forget that it was normal to beat your children and your wife only 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago. That's
Mhm.
not normal anymore. That's not accepted anymore. You know,
Right.
it was normal to treat children terribly across the board, for children to treat people terribly, for churches to go on witch hunts, you know, for people to be murdered for their beliefs. We're not there anymore. We're actually in a more evolved place already. So if you take where we are now and understand we're going to make that big a leap in a very short period of time, again, in consciousness, we're going to a really good place.
What a great point. I love that. When
So
much of your work shines a light on suppressed or overlooked wisdom, if there was one piece of hidden knowledge that you wish more people had access to right now, is there anything that comes to your mind?
I'd say the one thing, which is actually becoming quite a popular theme, which is we were made to ignore the intelligence of the heart, which was well known in ancient cultures. And the Z's brought that back, center stage when we were talking to them about the future human. They said, it's not just the future, it's now. You don't have to wait to begin living this way. It's your birthright.
Mm.
So the information that is starting to materialize again, rise again, and all these different groups and scientific experiments, Heart Math Institute, et cetera, devoted to understanding intelligence of the heart. That is one of the most useful things. The reason being, if we're going to allow our conscious mind to be dictating everything to us, how we live, what we do, what we should think of this and that, it's a very incomplete picture. The conscious mind has the subconscious, it has trauma, it has everything in the subconscious from the past programming it. It can be manipulated by algorithms, AI, fake information. The mind is being manipulated. That's not true of the heart. So if we can learn it's very simple, really, to take our attention, and I've said this to people before, if you have something that's bothering you, for example, do a little experiment. Take that situation, the irksome situation, close your eyes, drop it into the heart, just drop it into the heart. And then just breathe with it, and see what the heart has to say. And you'll notice it's a completely different answer than the mind may have come up with. There's usually not blame. It's self-responsible, it's truthful, it's direct. So going back into relationship with what the ancients knew as our real intelligence, the heart, I think is going to be our personal savior. Because it can't be, we're being manipulated in every way possible. It can't be manipulated. Your heart knows truth.
Yes.
And it does not have filters, and it will give you the simple answer right back. And sometimes that answer might not be what your ego wants to hear. It doesn't matter. If we listen to it, it's not going to mislead us. And then, of course, to me, always continuing the endeavor to listen to the subtle whisperings of the higher mind, which are constantly inviting us in, whispering to us other higher truths that we may or may not be able to hear at a given time. Always having a desire to connect with the highest part of ourselves, which goes beyond these kinds of earthly truths, I think is very important, because that's where most of our motivation in life, if we listen to it, will come from. And then you're not going to be misguided. But if we try to use the noodle here to figure things out, we're in trouble. We are in trouble.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much. Well, Regina, this has been amazing. I've loved every second of spending time with you. Thank you so much for coming on. Please tell people how they can connect with you and find out more about your work.
Well, reginameredith.com is my private site, and that's where I tend to do more commentaries, kind of like the things we're talking about, where I put things together thematically and share my take with people. And I'm doing more and more of that. And then, of course, Gaia.com, which is where I have the show Open Minds. And of course, that's my day gig.
Yes, beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for all the work that you are bringing to the collective to help raise consciousness, and the things that you have been doing for so long in that vein. So it's really been a joy and an honor to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cara. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Soul Elevation. If someone in your life would be inspired or uplifted by what you heard today, please take a moment to share it with them. These are the kinds of conversations that ripple out and elevate collective consciousness. And if you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the powerful episodes ahead. Your presence, energy, and support truly help amplify this mission of raising frequency and anchoring in a more awakened humanity. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you for the next episode of Soul Elevation.